Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another figure review with Isaac and Friends. My name is Isaac, and I'd like to ask you to please do me a favor and like and subscribe, because that definitely helps my small channel out. And today's figure review, we are looking at the Gundam Universe Rx 78-2. For those of you not familiar, that is the original Gundam from the original 1979 show. This particular thing started it all off and introduced us to the very first Gundam pilot, Amuro Ray, which then kicked off the entire Universal Century, the main timeline for Gundam itself. Amuro and Char, the two ace pilots of the Earth Federation and Zeon, respectively, would come to be the quintessential mecha pilot rival combo. So much so that pretty much in every other Gundam universe there has been some attempt to copy these guys in their rivalry and in their awesomeness. So let's take a quick look at this guy, shall we? As you can see here, it's your standard RX 78-2. It's not a super fancy model, it's pretty standard. In fact, it's what you expect for the very first Gundam ever. This was before there were gimmicks. This was before things could transform or fire uber lasers that could destroy everything. This is just a standard mobile suit. And the first ever mobile suit designed by the Earth Federation. Designed specifically to take itself toe-to-toe with the Zaku 2. Piloted by Char and many other Zeon pilots. So, here it is, your basic Gundam. Now let's talk a little bit about the RX 78-2's pilot, Amuro Ray. Amuro Ray, when he first started piloting a mobile suit, was a 15-year-old kid with no military training and no training at all in terms of how to fly this thing. He was basically a scientist's son, granted his father worked on the machine, who basically started piloting it with the equivalent training of, oh, hey, look, the manual. Literally as everyone around him was being blown to smithereens by Zeon. After Zeon had literally discovered not only his father's hidden base where they were working on the Gundam, but where they were working on pretty much all of the Federation mobile suits. Amuro, fighting to try and help and save his friends and family that had been working on said station, climbed into the mobile suit, turned it on, and proceeded to fight Zeon. Thankfully, the RX-78-2 does indeed have one interesting feature. The mobile suit itself has a computer that can think and learn from and it learns specifically from previous combat experience, meaning that the longer that the mobile suit fought, the longer and more easily it would win battles, and it could suggest better alternatives and actions to its pilot. However, this would also mean that unfortunately for Amuro Ray, he would end up being the only person who could actually pilot the thing, because the combat data that the mobile suit had was specific to Amuro Ray. And it also didn't help that all the other pilots got spaced by Zeon. Fun. But yeah, basically Amuro, when he first started his career as a mobile suit pilot, was just some poor kid that got in the wrong situation at the right time. That's not to say that he wasn't too bad initially either. I mean, he went toe-to-toe with the freaking ace Char Aznable, the Red Comet, who prior to his meeting with Amuro Ray had literally helped decimate an entire enemy fleet with a freaking Zaku. Which, to us now, seems to be a rather middle-range mobile suit, but back then the Zaku was the rage. It was the fleet killer, the absolute word in battle power. Especially since at the time, Zeon was the only ones who actually have a mobile suit. Federation pressed the Gundam into service and pressed it into manufacture and development after it lost a tremendous battle in which most of its souped up and refurbished fleet got trashed by Zeon Zakos. Amuro, granted, would have a little bit of whiny in him, but that would be smacked out of him by the good old Captain Bright, at the time Lieutenant or Mr. Bright. Which is interesting about Mr. Bright himself. It would seem that in the Universal Century, one of the best ways of becoming an ace is literally getting your face smacked across by Bright Noah. Seems that his hand bestowed upon any who got slapped by him the ability to become an awesome mobile suit ace. Although I have to note, it seems that in a certain series called Gundam Zeta, when the Titans decide to pummel poor Mr. Bright, it seems like all their piloting skill went down the toilet. I guess the bright giveth, the bright taketh away. But let's take a look at what kind of awesome poses our friend can do, shall we? Our friend here has the ability to turn his head and look up and down. His arm bends at the elbow, although very, very, very stiff. His hand is on a ball joint, so you can twist it around and swivel. His arm does go up and down with a 360-degree rotation. Very limited waist swivel. Can do a back and ab crunch, as we'll see here in a minute. Very limited, very stiff. Leg can go up X amount of feet. Not very far high, but it is what it is. Leg is also double jointed. Foot is on a weird joint that allows it to go up and down. It also has a slight pivot I will show you here in just a second. There we go. You can see it pivots a little bit. These joints are extra stiff, so they're a pain in the butt to move around, but that's what it is. And there you go. As you can see, there's not really much to say about this particular figure. It has pretty much the same articulation of all the Gundam Universe figures. Really stiff, but in this case, it's not super bad. I mean, there's not a whole lot of gimmicks that you could have done with this figure, but it's definitely a fun figure. There are some interesting accessories that do come with the figure itself, and yeah, despite being pretty bare bone basics, the things it doesn't come with include the lance or the Gundam hammer, although again I say that thing's not a hammer, it's a frickin' flail. A hammer has a pole leading up to the actual bit that goes whack. A flail has a chain. There's a difference. But let's take a look at these accessories, shall we? As you can see, our Gundam comes with his shield, his beam rifle, two hands, one closed as a fist, the other closed as a means to hold his saber, and two blast effect / saber pieces. Here in a minute, I will show you something cool. So you can take the saber off his back, and you can plug the saber beam piece, of course, into the saber here. You can take that off, put that back into his backpack here. If I can get it, there we go. Now, oops, as I knock everything away. Now, you insert into the barrel of the gun, and now you have a shooting effect. Voila! You can put his gun in his trigger finger hand. You can also place his shield into his hand here. Be careful, it is a little stiff. Might want to toughen it up. You can also tab the shield into a slot into the arm here. I tried to show it to you guys, but it didn't quite go through. Just press that into there, and there you go. And it keeps it nice and in place. You can also take the shield off. Again, be careful with the hand. And place it on his back. Fair warning here, the back attachment is a little loose, so sometimes the shield will definitely fall apart. And of course, you do have the little stand nub that you can plug into the Gundam to put him on a stand if you have one. Surprisingly enough, this is a bit more than most of the Gundam Universe figures I've reviewed have had. The Gundam RX 78-2 seems to have pretty much almost all of the requisite accessories aside from maybe a couple of things. Honestly, I'd say it's pretty good considering, and the accessories are pretty interesting for what it is. Great for doing any kind of action poses or any sort of display poses that you may want. It's fun for kids too if they want to play around with the toy. But I'm sure you guys also want to see just how big this guy is, so let's go ahead and do a size comparison with what I have available, shall we? For size comparison, we have the RX 78-2 version 1.5, the precursor to all of the other versions of the RX 78-2 Master Grade, with the exception of the version 1. Here we have the Sandrock Gundam from the Gundam Universe line, similar to our RX 78-2. Roughly about the same height. Granted, I don't know why in the world the Sandrock can't get rid of that tilt for some strange reason. And we have the RX 93 New Type Gundam, created by Amuro Ray after his time with the RX 78-2, and seen in the Char's Counterattack anime. And of course, we have the High New Gundam High Grade version. There are some other grades I'm looking into, possibly getting the perfect grade or master grade preferably. So we'll see what I have with what I've got. Overall, it's a pretty solid figure. It's not bad, especially for something you buy for about $25 at Walmart. Granted, there are some better high-grade figures, but not everybody can build the model. I know a few people who can't. Some of my personal friends who have physical disabilities, such as my buddy Lich, who is literally completely blind in one eye. There are some people who can't build models, and these kind of toys are perfect for them, especially if they still want to have fun with Gundam. Are they perfect? No, absolutely not. Especially if you're talking some of the more complex toys that come out. For example, Burning Gundam. I've actually got that figure and then went back to the place and traded it out for a different Gundam. It did not look great. I'm just going to say it right now. It was terrible. But as for this particular figure, I mean, if you want to introduce them to the very first one, this isn't a bad way to do it. And it's a great way for them to be able to, especially with the blast effects, they can recreate certain things. And especially if you just so happen to have the Gundam Universe Zaku figure. I don't know the quality of that one just yet because, well, they don't have that where I'm at. And right now I'm spending all my money on master grades. So, who knows? Maybe if I feel like it and I happen upon it, I might just pick up a Zaku or two from this line. That being said, however, as far as this figure is concerned, I'll give it a nice solid 7 out of 10. There are definitely, if you look closer, definitely points where the figure could have taken a little bit more paint. They did take the time to sculpt some detail, but they didn't really go through to do the panel lining or anything with it, which is kind of sad. But I digress. For me, I think it's a fun, fine little toy for everybody. Maybe not for your hardcore Gundam enthusiast or your Gunpla builder, but hey, it's a fun little toy. So, that's my thoughts on it. Leave what you think down below in the comments and see what you feel. But thanks again, everyone, for watching, and I hope to see you beautiful buggers next video.